Hello and welcome to Dateline New Haven on WNHH-FM. I'm Paul Bass, inviting you to look behind the headlines on the stories that make our community tick. Today we're doing headlines and baselines. We read headlines from the New Haven Independent, my main source of news about New Haven. I love reading it. And with comments by our readers that we've chosen to take their take on the news, interspersed by music. And today we have music recommended by the New Haven Independent, specifically WDT-FM DJ Ryan Patrick Hooper, who every week you see an article in the Independent that's also on the public school Midbrow, where Ryan, who's a DJ at WDT-FM, picks his new release of the week, new music he thinks we'd like. So we'll see what you think. So thanks for joining us. Let's get right into it. Here was a headline in the Independent this week. Schools keep more kids in school. We've been wrestling with chronic absenteeism in New Haven. That's since the nadir in 2021, when 49% of the kids were chronically absent. We've got that down to 23%. Really good work going on. Some interesting ideas coming about how to keep people in school when they're disconnected, how to go out and get them involved. It's not just showing up at their house and threatening them. And also numbers are tricky because that was the low point. But there's a real problem, real challenge. There's been real progress. So here's what some of our commenters had to say. Kevin McCarthy commented on this article. He said, the chart shows, this is a chart about absenteeism, that physical health is the leading cause of chronic absenteeism. This indicates that dealing with health issues to the extent that the district can should be the district's first priority in dealing with absenteeism. The article indicates that is not the case. Actually, I would disagree with Kevin, because one thing I noticed about those COVID statistics, there were people who dropped out of the system, and those are the ones that are hard to reach. And they're the ones that we have to look out for. There were people, including the daughter of the mayor, who's very engaged, who were in a house where people had COVID. So they had to stay out for a whole bunch of days. But I think it was 5 days. You're considered chronically absent, like if you get COVID or if your mom or dad gets COVID. And in fact, I would disagree with Kevin, because health issues matter a lot, and we should deal with health issues. But in terms of what are the chronic absentee issues that are important, that's why I thought was the not super relevant point of comparing it to the depth of the COVID crisis, is that the stuff we need to tackle are the other issues of people without parents in their lives, making sure they get to school or getting in a lot of trouble and not going to school, spend the day just, whatever, doing the hanging out, and that it's tougher. It's not as simple as saying, well, you had COVID, now you're back, it's fine. Here's what Notes writes. Correction. The NHPS, public schools, is not underfunded nor understaffed. There's nothing to congratulate here, especially from the very people who are responsible for chronic budget deficits and gross mismanagement. Further, this data and goal setting is a testament to low expectations. Wow. These are not stretch goals. The timetable that only lowers truancy to 20% after nearly a decade from when the same board, some different members shut down the public schools and ignored the success in Florida, Texas, and Israel. That said, the graduation numbers look promising. Should these be filtered by the truancy numbers? Here's what Think Twice wrote. Think Twice wrote, there's a growing narrative that New Haven's public schools are failing, but that story misses a deeper truth. Our schools' education is not broken, facilities are. Our system of shared responsibility is broken. Too often, children enter kindergarten without basic early learning skills, not knowing their numbers, their alphabet, or even how to hold a book. By the time they sit down for their first day of school, they're already playing catch-up, and once they fall behind, it's incredibly hard to close that gap. Teachers can't do it alone. Education doesn't start or stop at the schoolhouse door. It begins at home, long before a child's first day of class. If we want New Haven students to thrive, we must build a culture of accountability, not just for educators, but for families and communities too. Every parent should understand that education is more than a requirement. It's the most reliable path to opportunity and upward mobility. When family, students, and schools all do their best, success stops being the exception. It becomes the expectation. Well, I'm expecting you might like the story. I did. DJ Ryan Patrick Hooper, his pick of the week recently was a song called Dollar Store by an artist named Ben Queller. Waxahachie, one of my favorite artists, is also on this track. And here's Ben Queller with Dollar Store.
looking away. We hide, so we stay inside. I'll be right back. Panic attack. We burn, so we will return. I'm looking at the sky, it's raining. Cross-legged on the bedroom floor. She's sipping on a drink, complaining, begging on me for more, more. We're living in a simulation. I'll meet you at the dollar store. She's looking at the expiration. All that you want and more, more. Calling it quits, good as it gets. Whisper every dream with her, carried away. We'll be okay. This town makes your mind melt down. I'm looking at the sky, it's raining. Cross-legged on the bedroom floor. She's sipping on a drink, complaining, begging on me for more, more. We're living in a simulation. I'll meet you at the dollar store. She's looking at the expiration. All that you want and more, 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 more. I'm looking for some motivation. I don't know what I'm looking for. She's sparking up a conversation, telling me that she's bored, bored. We're living in a simulation. I'll meet you at the dollar store. She's looking at the expiration. All that you want and more, 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 more. All that you want and more, more. All that you want and more.
Ben Queller with some help from Waxahachie on Dollar Store. That was a DJ pick of the week by DJ Ryan Patrick Hooper. You can see that in the Independent. We're doing songs recommended by the Independent, headlines from the New Haven Independent, and comments by our readers, the real stars of the show, weighing in on our stories here at WNHH FM. The headline in the Independent this week was Veterans Commemorated in the Cold. It's a good story. About an event that took place on Veterans Day Tuesday. Here's what Union Yes wrote about it. Was once a celebration of an authentic Veterans Day has been made into a farce. Read history to understand why. On November 11th, 1918, the guns stopped. That day ended with the promise of war no more. And it was called Armistice Day. This day was meant to remind all of us about the cost of empire, the needless loss of our troops, and the absolute necessity of peace. Read your history, people. After that day, 11/11/1918, the warmonger, prophet's machine, and maker twisted the original meaning of the Armistice Day into their version of this historic day in 1954. The U.S. renamed it Veterans Day to make people think that this is not a day of ending war, but a day of glorifying it. Our troops paid dearly for this with their lives. It was all in the name of profits for the U.S. war machine makers. Yup. What was once a day of celebrating peace grew into a monstrous ideology of glorifying endless war to profit to the weapons industry. This is called erasure. Twisting history for the sole purpose of profits to the weapons industry. Who are the winners in this one? It's the same weapons manufacturers and security firms arming Israel's genocide of the Palestinians, militarism abroad, and militarism here are the same system. Resist fascism abroad and here at home. Dennis wrote, in response to Union Yes, please go back and read the history of World War II and fascism. City Yankee 2 wrote, "Great to see our Hill House High School folks honoring those who answered their country's call. You made our vets very happy." Reader Harlequin wrote, "Thank you to all who have served in this nation's armed forces." Quince wrote, "I hope folks will take a moment to reflect that all the senseless wars and destruction the military-industrial complex is responsible for, that is overt and covert. Also keep in mind the United States has approximately 750 overseas military bases spread across more than 80 countries and territories. Such a tragedy that it continues with Trump and Hegseth and their plans for more wars of aggression and killing. It is our fine young working class men and women who are sent off to fight and pay the price. I am so grateful to organizations such as Veterans for Peace, who expose the true costs of war and militarism. I implore veterans in New Haven and all who have served to explore this great resource and join." And finally, this is what Jack Straw wrote at the bottom of this article. "Let's not forget that Trump is a president who thinks, quote, a person who thinks that those who defend the country in uniform or are shot down or seriously wounded in combat or spend years being tortured as POWs are all suckers because there's nothing in it of them." And that was actually a quote Trump had about John McCain, one of our great heroes. "He is, quote, a person that did not want to be seen in the presence of military amputees because it doesn't look good for me," his former aide Kelly wrote of him. "A person who demonstrated open contempt for a Gold Star family, for all Gold Star families on TV during the 2016 campaign, and rants that our most precious heroes who gave their lives in American defense are, quote, losers, and wouldn't visit their graves in France. And yet Republicans, who wrap themselves in the flag when convenient, continue to bow to this creep." Be a lot to say about that article. And Chronix, an up-and-coming musician, I think it technically is called reggae. It's interesting instrumentations you'll see. Acoustic guitar. He had a song out called Hurricane, came out recently. And our DJ who does our DJ pick of the week of new releases for New Haven Independent and all sorts of publications called Midbrow out of Detroit, Ryan Patrick Cooper, he turned me on. I never heard of Chronix. He had a song called Hurricane, and Ryan last week picked it as the song of the week because it just so happened to coincide with the efforts to clean up the hurricane in Jamaica, even though the song was written before that, so it kind of has double relevance here. So this is Chronix, an artist, thanks to Ryan, I've been introduced to and listening to a lot of his songs, and his new track, Hurricane, on WNHH FM.
When the tides were so high and strong, you gave me shelter from the rain. On an open and raging sea, you rescued me. Placed the firm ground beneath my feet, helped me to stand firm when I was weak. All the tears that I cried in pain was meant to be. And you inspired the best in me, so I could stand for what I believe. Give me peace that surpasses it all. eternity. Yeah. In the eye of the hurricane, I heard you whisper and call my name. I am a witness of your quickness to rescue me. Well, I am a witness of your quickness to rescue me. Well,
I'm a witness to your quickness to rescue me. That's Chronics with the song Hurricane here on Dateline New Haven's Headlines and Basslines episode. And that's one of the songs that you can read about every week in the New Haven Independent and the publication called Midbrow with Ryan Patrick Hooper, who does a daily program on WDTFM Detroit, where he picks his new track of the week. He gets all the music that comes in, and he introduces us to great music like that song by Chronics. And we're listening here to headlines and then what readers wrote about those stories under the headlines in the New Haven Independent on today on Dateline New Haven. We had an interesting story Tom Breen wrote called Ground Broken on 150 more apartments on Liberty Street, a former factory. It's going to be 150 apartments, at least 149 of them affordable. The other question is going to be how much the superintendent makes. Heather C. wrote, the affordability is very good. The deeply affordable units work for minimum wage workers. The geothermal heating and cooling with a battery array to store energy is good to keep utilities costs low. The design is bland, but the colors of muted brick red and dark gray black is less ugly than some other new builds. And it looks like it has a lot of windows. Remodeling an industrial building to deeply affordable and affordable unit development with a living on site super is good. We should encourage this type of development project all around the state. Kevin McCarthy was also pleased because Kevin McCarthy wrote, I'm very pleased to see this project move forward, particularly since it includes deeply affordable apartments, but the apartments cost $467,000 each to build, which is not scalable. City Yankee 2 noted the stories talking about how funds came from the State Department of Housing and CHAFA and the Brownfields Remediation Program at Bank of America. So City Yankee 2 wrote, they are making a pot of money pretending to build for the poor. Pretending, okay. The poor are the greatest gift for the rich. There will always be poor folks just for this reason. New Haven native wrote, Kevin said it well. $467K per unit that are renting for way below market rates means this project is feasible only because it's been largely funded by your and my tax dollars. Not a bad thing to subsidize housing, but we shouldn't be subsidizing housing at $467,000 a unit when the private market builds better units at $350,000 $350K a unit. It's just a waste of money meant for virtue signaling when we could subsidize private market developments. SB's one of our favorite commenters, by the way, since the early days of the bit. SB wrote, one more step towards New Haven's goal of 10,000 units in 10 years. Last year, fewer than 600 housing permits were issued in New Haven, according to State's Economic Digest. So we need to keep ramping up to get there. That many units at 30% affordable will make a real difference. Kevin's right about costs being too high. Both the city and the state need to consider regulatory reform that will lower costs while allowing more kinds of buildings, not just the same 5/1s with long hallways and smaller apartments. One example would be to legalize fire safety multi-story single-stair building. as it's done successfully in many other places. Heather C. wrote, SB, I don't agree with single stairway large apartment buildings for safety reasons, but I can agree with a wider variety of sizes of units, smaller yardage around buildings, some reduced parking depending on the area needs, and we definitely need more housing with changes in zonings in the suburbs. East-West writes Heather, the statistics are clear that single-stair buildings nowadays with fire alarm or sprinkler are, if anything, safer than the current old housing stock we have, better than having folks stay unhoused. Dennis writes, I'm not sure if this is good news for New Haven. The housing is nice, but the money from the state is a one-time injection of funds for housing only. We keep adding very poor people into New Haven without adding money for the wraparound services that very low-income people need. The cost for the latter falls on the shoulders of New Haven taxpayers forever. Plus, there's no guarantee these units will go to New Haven residents. This is the good news for a handful of families. The suburbs will continue to concentrate the poor in New Haven. The developers and the politicos looking for a photo op. Robot Shlomo writes, these units are deed restricted. Even if the owner wants to sell to free market operators, they won't be able to. Think Twice writes, on paper, Mayor Elker's latest housing initiative sounds impressive. Another bullet point for his resume and another, quote, affordable housing, quote, quote, success story for New Haven. But when we look past the press releases and into the fine print, the math simply doesn't add up for New Haven's poor working residents. The so-called affordable units are pegged to 80% of the area median income AMI for New Haven County. That's $88,640. Meanwhile, the median income for gap for people living in the city of New Haven is only $5,961. That's a gap of more than $30,000. What does that mean in real life? It means most of the residents in New Hallville and many other long-standing poor neighborhoods won't be able to afford to live in these so-called affordable units. Once again, development is marketed as a step forward for equity and inclusivity, risk pushing out the very communities that build the city. That's an interesting point because on the one hand, you could look at the apartments going up around Yale New Haven Hospital. There's a whole city basically being built that used to be surface lots. And it's true that I'm told that a lot of people renting there are considered low income, but they're students who are Yale, going to be doctors at Yale New Haven Hospital and the graduate students. So that's a little tricky. But on the other hand, you look at the nice square where I believe the original plan was to get government subsidies back in the 80s to build, and in the 90s to build up those hundreds of apartments with, I think, 20-30% affordable and people of modest means. And now I think they've, at times, some of the buildings been as much as 50% or more in practice, and they are people of modest means. I met some. So you're never sure. You know, theories are important to debate. Then there's the reality on the ground. The reality on the ground is you're listening to headlines at Basslines, the New Haven Independent, from the New Haven Independent, on Dateline New Haven, WNHH-FM, and in addition to getting headlines and comments from readers that we're reading aloud, we're listening to songs by the DJ you see every week in the Independent, picking the new release of the week. Ryan Patrick Hooper from WDTFM in Detroit. He picks the new releases he thinks we might have did. To me, they're all new. They're all people I hadn't heard of and hadn't listened to. I'm always glad to have heard them. And here's one he recently picked from Madison McFerrin. You might recognize that last name, the last name of her father, Bobby McFerrin. She's a recording artist in her own right. And she has a song we're going to play for you at Ryan's suggestion called Ain't It Nice?
Is it hard to keep me out your thoughts, distracting from your plots? You can't afford to spend the time, but I can tell you wanna know me well. Come fall told you I could always change your mind.
Ain't It Nice from Madison McFerrin, the next generation. The McFerrin family, music family. And here on WNHH-FM, Dateline New Haven, we're doing headlines and Basslines. Headlines from New Haven Independent. Commentary and the Basslines from readers. And then songs that you read about every week in New Haven Independent on a publication called Midbrow from a DJ named Ryan Patrick Cooper, WDTFM in Detroit. He picks a pick of the week that we read about and listen to every week in the Independent. And we're playing those songs in between the stories we read about here for a little ride. Here's a headline from the Independent. Found interesting. Striking teachers teach a lesson by making an archive. Zal Appel's coverage of the latest event marking the 50th anniversary of a landmark teacher strike in New Haven. Wax On wrote in the comments section, 50 years later, and has anything changed in the New Haven Public Schools? Nope. The only thing that really changed is how much they ask us for every year for the budget. 1975, give us $50,000. 2025, give us $50 million. Well, Mike Lowry, teacher, wrote, teachers no longer have meaningful leverage. Striking is off the table, and the union is left to ask for change with limited power behind the request. So nothing changes. Classroom teachers are told to, quote, do more, close quote, without being given the support or resources to do it. The relationship between principals and teachers is also no longer the collaborative partnership that this district claims to value. Teachers in schools across the city are being dismissed, talked down to, and even professionally retaliated against for simply asking for what students need. Many are left to handle serious behavior crises alone. Take Hill House as one example. The leadership there is inexperienced, unorganized, and refusing to seek the additional support needed to restore order and rebuild a culture of safety and belonging for students and staff. Teachers have formally filed complaints with the district asking for help. The response so far has been silence. This is not how a healthy school system functions. New Haven Public Schools is also top heavy with central office administration. There are 4 assistant superintendents, a head of instruction and curriculum who effectively oversees them, and a head of professional development above that layer. Then there are department heads, 2 for ELA, 1 each for math, history, science, TESOL, CTE, counseling, PE, world languages, and special ed. That is 17 district heads, most earning around $100,000 more. This is over $2.5 million in base salary alone before benefits, for roles that often have limited direct classroom impact. Bridgeport chose a different route. They eliminated 45 administrative and central office positions in one structuring, and moved toward cutting over 75 administrative roles total to shift resources back into schools. They recognize that too many layers of leadership were draining funds without improving learning conditions. New Haven restructured the central office. The district could redirect, if they did that, millions to classrooms. That money could reduce class sizes, address safety concerns, update materials and facilities, and provide professional learning that teachers could actually use, rather than mandates handed down without context or collaboration. The real work of education happens between students and teachers. It is time to fund that work and rebuild trust in schools, instead of continuing to invest in bureaucracy that adds titles and control, while classrooms, teachers, and students are left struggling. Here's a band I never heard of before. It's spelled all capitals, MRKT. I'm guessing market. They have a song called Monotropa. That may or may not be pronounced right, but here's what it sounds like. DJ Ryan Patrick Cooper picked it as a song of the week recently. We're going to listen to it at WNHH FM at 103.5 in New Haven. Monotropa from Market or MRKT here on Dateline New Haven, special edition headlines and baselines, 103.5. We're reading headlines from the New Haven Independent, comments selected by readers of the New Haven Independent, posted to the site, and then our weekly DJ Ryan Song of the Week from the last bunch of weeks from Ryan Patrick Cooper at WDET FM. Here's a story got a lot of reads. City Christmas tree collides with homelessness crisis. Lord Lesby wrote about how we put up our big tree on the green last week. Same day, homeless people were told to take down their tents from behind the church there. And then the police were called in to arrest not homeless people, but advocates for the homeless who then put up tents so they can get arrested, which they keep doing. They insist on being arrested so they can make a point thinking that people should be allowed to have the tents on the green. The first comment from the story was from someone named Harlequin. Harlequin wrote, "Give the homeless an option to move out of New Haven in Connecticut by giving them bus fare to, like, Texas." Kevin McCarthy responded, "Harlequin, I have interacted with a number of homeless people over the years at Sunrise Cafe. I don't recall any of them coming from Texas or expressing any desire to move there." Heather C. wrote, "That just shifts the problem, the unhoused, to another community and make it their problem. You would be livid if another state started shipping their unhoused here. It solves nothing." Monty Hucks wrote, "How the Grinch will never get a heart." Heartland 1953 wrote, "Let's all feel guilty that we can enjoy holiday decorations on a public space that we pay taxes for. Homelessness in Connecticut was at one time a temporary condition. Now, it's apparently a lifestyle complete with advocacy groups, lawyers, lawsuits, and a, quote, community that is therapeutic." City Yankee 2 wrote, "These kinds of stories are designed to provoke emotional responses. I want to call them stupid. People resent that the green has been taken over by indigents with lots of problems. We also resent that the implications for everybody feel guilty about the holidays because some are homeless. Maybe we should stop shopping for Thanksgiving and Christmas. I wonder how the business people would like that. People like you, Westville hikers, should be making up the difference in NH taxes for the resulting loss of revenue if we all stay home and save our money. Will that satisfy the woke?" Save Our City wrote, "Homelessness should not be a lifestyle. It should be," look at this lifestyle thing. No, it should be something we try to avoid rather than encourage. There are plenty of towns in Fairfield County where the housing is much less affordable that don't have the crisis. Right, they zone to keep them out, kick them out. The Orwellian quote, "People aren't safe downtown, people get assaulted." Yes, they don't feel safe and get assaulted because the encampment section, there's not been any that they know of. Joan M. Kavanaugh wrote, "An early Merry Christmas from the city of New Haven. The same day, Elliker, the mayor, was at a pop-up food center helping to pack items for distribution, noting that all the Trump administration had to do is push a button to restore money for SNAP benefits." True, and good for him. But he seems to have forgotten that there are also some buttons he could push as well to quickly improve some lives, such as turning on the power at Rosette Neighborhood Village and not evicting people with nowhere else to go from public space. The next comment was written by Witchin in the Kitchen. Witchin in the Kitchen, great name, wrote, "The optics of this are interesting. Unhoused poor are evicted from tents to make way for the Christmas tree and the celebration of the season of charity and giving by those well off." To which City Yankee 2 writes, "At Witchin in the Kitchen, those on the green are squatting, and it is illegal to squat, urinate, defecate, etc. in public. They have no legal right to, quote, live there." By the way, Christians celebrate the birth of the Savior on Christmas, not giving gifts and shopping. This article is designed to pit those who feel too guilty to live because they are poor against those who continue to live, and we fall for it all the time. The Christmas tree didn't do anything to the squatters. Charity is not forgotten, but we have the right to be left alone for 5 minutes by the woke who want everyone to feel terrible all the time. I will enjoy the tree as I always do. You can choose not to and donate to the shelter of your choice. Bashman wrote, "The city needs to do a better job tracking where people are coming from. It isn't right that people from other Connecticut towns demanding that New Haven fix a homeless problem that other towns are contributing to. Many of the homeless don't demand the towns they come from provide them with services, but they demand New Haven." That's true. I remember, you look at Rosette Village, they had an event in Guilford at a big church that has tons of land that could have tiny houses, and they did a song about how terrible New Haven was for enforcing the building code at tiny houses in New Haven. Bashman wrote, "New Haven nonprofit organizations use the voucher program, specifically Rapid Rehousing Program, RAP, to draw more substance abusers in New Haven to create a crisis, allowing them to request more state and firm." Actually, I think I don't want to read the rest of that one. So, that was the latest comments in the Independent. Sorry about that. And we're going to now take another pick by Ryan Patrick Cooper from WDTFM and his weekly nationally, I guess, syndicated DJ Pick of the Week of New Music, which runs in the New Haven Independent. He picked a song by Night Bus called Angles Morts. And here's what it sounds like. It's Night Bus on WNHH FM 103.5 from New Haven. Broadcasting from New Haven. We're doing Dateline New Haven headlines and basslines and songs recommended by DJ Ryan every week in The Independent. Got one more story I wanted to read headline and reader comments from. Build, downtown plan advances. That's Alder Eli Samon's idea to have the build movement brought to New Haven. An idea they're going to let our buildings be taller downtown, have single room occupancy SROs, where people can live in one place and share bathrooms and stuff. have more mixed-use building, because we did a lot of zoning in New Haven in the model city urban renewal era. We thought if we just separate stores in different places from workplaces, from apartments, that somehow that would make a more vibrant city. I think everyone agrees that was wrong, so we're not doing that. So that it passed both city plan, and then subsequently a committee of the Board of Alders last night passed it. And here's what people who read the Independent said about it in the comments section. City Yankee 2 wrote, "This is downtown for all Yaleys." Who was Saban kidding? Now we want SROs back? In the so-called redevelopment era, they were considered flop houses. Now flopping is okay again? A growing number of undergraduates live off campus in New Hall, Village, as well as East Rock. Alder Saban has stated that part of the motivation for encouraging development of town is to reduce gentrification pressures in the neighborhoods. For most of the city's neighborhood, lots of working people lived in SROs, rooming and boarding houses. There's a real need for similar housing today. If you are a single parent working full-time in a minimum wage job, you could only afford a rent of $800 per month. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Kevin McCarthy writing now in response to City Yankee. There are few, if any, decent apartments at this rent. Finding a roommate is not a plausible option for these households, nor in most cases for single, low-wage, middle-wage workers. Allowing SROs is part of the solution for providing affordable housing options for these households. Dennis wrote, Yale should require students to live on campus so nearby apartments can be freed up for others. And Justin Higgins wrote, horrific. New Haven is being turned into a mini Manhattan, a low vacancy rate. So what? You can't live in New Haven, then go live somewhere else. Can't live in Connecticut, then go live somewhere else. Get out. McCarthy wrote back, the proposal allows 12-story buildings downtown if the building occupies the entire lot, as is common. The Taft building is 13 stories, as is the Union Trust building. 360 State has 31 stories. Quinchion wrote, this is an excellent proposal and opportunity for the city to grow. That's why it makes so much sense to eventually include Long Wharf for much-needed growth and expansion of downtown to the waterfront. There can easily be new buildings around the height of 360 State that get built near the train station, the medical district. And if downtown expands this district down to Long Wharf, my thought is that a lot of affordable housing will likely come out of the city, continue to build more. Harlequin wrote, density, enough already. Stop trying to turn New Haven into a mini Manhattan. Look, people just don't understand. The price of housing more than doubled because of these Manhattanites interloping into the whole state of Connecticut. What makes it worse is the complicity by locally affected officials. I really would like to more fully express my feelings on the subject, but I believe that I'll be prevented by the censors of this publication from doing so. Horror of horrors, we have some rules so that we can't just be a sewage pit every week in the Independent. We're not. We have great comments. Thanks for commenting, folks. Love reading your comments on the air. Thanks to the great reporters at the Independent who wrote these stories that are so great to write and provoke so much thinking. Thanks to Ryan Patrick Hooper of WDTFM, who every week picks a new song for us to hear and enriches our lives as well. It was a pleasure to play them today. Thanks to Harry Drost behind the controls. And we're going to go with a familiar song to take it out here. We're going to take it out with the Afro-Semitic Experience performing I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free from their CD, A Plea for Peace. This is Paul Bass inviting you to fly free with us all day, all night, and all weekend long at WNHH, New Haven's home for community radio.